Jai Sachidanand. We are trying to do a voiceover relay of the first session of the Parayan of Aptavani 3 that was missed uh, in our recent Ustream relay. And so here it is. The Parayan on Aptavani 3 is currently going on, and the first session was on the morning of Friday, 22nd of August, which is the night of the 21st. And this Aptavani 3, section 1, deals with the soul, and we are going to start reading from page 34. So here we go now, and we have our Gnani that is talking. It says, the speech itself is the knowledge, and that speech is really trying to show you, and we want to know this and we want to understand it exactly as it is. We should be able to see it, and then we should say it accordingly, and then it should come in the conduct. And we want to be that only. And whatever has been charged is for the neighbor. We have become the pure souls through the self, but now in the worldly interaction we are still lacking, and therefore when our worldly interaction comes to the level of the 12th spiritual stage, we will be done. And so we need to improve our worldly interactive. We need to know who we are, and if it can fit exactly. Yes, we speak those sentences in the Gnan Vidhi, but now we need to know the meaning and the intent meaning and the ultimate meaning. And this is what we are going to get in this Parayan. We want to remain in as the knower and the seer state and become free from sexuality and kashais, and we enjoy the experience of the self only through knowledge. So now let us read page 9, I guess.
જય સચ્ચિદાનંદ પૂજ્ય શ્રી દાદાના હૃદયની વાત કે જેમ છે તેમ શક્તિઓ.
Please get us the same energies as they are.
જય સચ્ચિદાનંદ.
Jai Sachidanand.
સંપાદકીય અવર્ણનીય અવક્તવ્ય નિશબ્દ આત્મતત્વનું વર્ણન શી રીતે થાય?
And so we are going.
એ તો નિરંતર આત્મરમણમાં સ્થિર હોય એવા જ્ઞાની પુરુષનું કામ કે જે એમના જ્ઞાન સિદ્ધ સંન્યાથી.
And so now they are reading the Editorial of Pujya Niruma.
પ્રસ્તુત ગ્રંથમાં પરમ પૂજ્ય દાદા ભગવાનના શ્રીમુખેથી સંન્યા ભાષામાં નીકળી વાણીનું સંકલન કરવામાં આવ્યું છે. પ્રત્યક્ષપણે સાંભળનારને તો તક્ષણ જ આત્મદર્શન સાધે છે. અહીં તે પરોક્ષપણે છે, છતાંય એ ભાવનાથી પ્રકાશિત કરવામાં આવે છે કે કેટલાય કાળથી જે તત્વજ્ઞાન સંબંધીના ફળો અપ્રકટપણે રહ્યા હતા તે આજે પ્રત્યક્ષ જ્ઞાની પુરુષ પરમ પૂજ્ય દાદા ભગવાનના યોગે પ્રગટ થાય છે. તેનો લાભ મોક્ષને અવશ્ય થશે જ, પરંતુ પ્રત્યક્ષમાં તો સંપૂર્ણ આત્મજાગૃતિની ઉપલબ્ધિ થાય તે પણ એક જ કલાકના પરમ પૂજ્ય દાદા ભગવાનના સાનિધ્યમાં એ કલ્પનામાં ન આવે એવી વાત આજે સેંકડો આત્માથી અનુભવેલી હકીકત છે. જ્ઞાનવિધિમાં વેદ જ્ઞાનથી હું શુદ્ધાત્મા છું, મન વચન કાયા જુદા છે, એ ભાન પ્રાપ્ત થઈ જાય છે. પછી 5 આજ્ઞા એનું રક્ષણ છે બીજા કલાકમાં. અને કે છે ને અનાદિકાળથી.
So they've just read the first page of the editorial, first section. With the Gnani Purush is very rare because most people would become enlightened and leave their body completely and enter moksha. So it was not possible which is only when a living person is there that a living lamp can light the lamp of the other. So the living Tirthankars or the Gnanis are the only ones who can really enlighten other human beings. But now the Tirthankars are gone and it is all gone. There will be no future Gnanis, says Deepak Bhai. We have the great Gnani Srimad Rajchandra and our Gnani Purush Dadashri. And Gnani Purush Dadashri, in whom Dada Bhagwan manifests, is able to share all of this in our own words, in our own language. And his Gnan Siddha Sangnya, in other words, the accomplished knowledge of his that he shares with us is so magnificent that, and it is the result of his spiritual endeavors for countless previous lifetimes, and it is now happening for the human beings of the current era of the time cycle. The as it is explanation about the absolute science of the soul can be given only by the absolute scientist of the soul who has reached the absolute state of absolutism. The first part of this book is dedicated to the science of the soul, and the second part of the knowledge of is worldly interactions. Final salvation, moksha, is possible only when one can fly on both the wings. The wing of the knowledge of the self and the wing of the complete and the ideal interactions in the worldly life. Flying on one wing is incomplete. The knowledge of the self, without knowledge of pure worldly interactions, is shushk or barren knowledge. Pure knowledge of worldly interactions is where one maintains, let no living being in this world suffer any pain whatsoever through this mind, speech, and body. Where there is exact knowledge of the soul, self, there results pure worldly interactions. Whether those interactions are carried out by an ascetic or by a family man, no obstructions will be posed in climbing the ladder of freedom. Only the purity of worldly interactions is required there. There may be profound tasks about the absolute self only, but if daily clashes prevail in one's worldly life, from anger, pride, deceit, and greed, then such knowledge is infertile knowledge. The words of knowledge, Gnanvani, of deeply revered Dada Bhagwan, quote unquote, show very simple and easy remedy for all worldly difficulties. They become intrinsically effective in resolving all problems. Whenever there is a deadlock in household matters, one key will present itself and the lock will open. In this book, attempt is made to collect as many keys as possible. For those who are desirous of Gnan, these keys will be effective, and for that reason, the knowledgeable readers should, with pure intentions and after praying to the absolute God Paramatma within, do the reading and deep thinking to receive all knowledge-filled approaches, Gnan Kada, and artful advice of liberating message, both Kada, and indeed they shall achieve it. This is it. Deepak Bhai is repeating it, that you have to invoke the Lord within you, that, oh my Lord, let me see it as it is. Let me be in the applied awareness of the self only and understand what is written. The common knowledge about a Gnani Purush, but otherwise, you are kind of stuck in all the worldly issues only. Are you not? I mean, just. Yes. And you see, whether they are colleagues or whether they are spiritual colleagues, etc., we need to become free from. But it is our intention that we need to, because we know that we have received this magnificent Gnan without having completed our karma and settled the karma, and that is why it is important that we should ask for the keys so that we can remain. Yeah. The common knowledge about a Gnani is that he has special knowledge of the scriptures. In the exact sense, in the exact sense, such a person is called a Shastra Gnani. There is tremendous difference between a person who knows the scriptures, Shastra Gnani, and a person who knows the soul, Atma Gnani. The person who knows the scriptures is in the quest for the path himself, whereas the person who knows the soul has completed the path and can help many reach completion. Only the one who is in the completely ego-less state and has the experience of the self is called a Gnani Purush. After thousands of years, one such Gnani Purush comes into being. At that time, he is beyond comparison in the world. He is regarded as an avatari Purush, divine incarnation. At present, we have come across such a Gnani Purush within whom the most revered Dada Bhagwan has manifested. This is the result of a grand uprising of great credit karma of the people of this Kali Yuga. We hail these credit karma with total glorious appreciation. And in the process of compiling and thus making the directly spoken speech indirect by placing it in print words, the highest among all speech, Saraswati, has touched the manifest absolute self, the speech that has emanated depending on the time and circumstances in a way that becomes heart-touching for all. Whatever shortfalls have occurred, they are due to the limitations of our ability in compilation. It is very, very difficult to get and experience a Gnani Purush like Dadashri in this era of the time cycle. But we are all extremely fortunate that we have received this circumstance where we are having the live Gnan of our Gnani Purush Dadashri. And it is and we Gujaratis are so fortunate in our own language and also in a language that is easily understood by everyone, including a villager, a Tadpati Bhasha, a language of the villager or the someone who's so we have very beautiful, and we are getting the elemental knowledge Tattvagnan, and five agnas is the magnificent. He has given us the five agnas, the entire extract of liberating knowledge in our fist. A fistful of five agnas. You see. Now let us move forward. Now let us read. And now we are reading actually, we are directly bypassing the. Now we are going to page 34. We are skipping the editorial. And so I'm trying to go there very quickly. What is the goal of life? A person should have only one goal, and that is to discover the answer to who am I. There should be no other goal besides this. Even after trying so hard into this, most of the time people are not concerned about who am I. They are only so involved in the activities of religion, in meditation efforts, etc., chanting, etc. Of this greatest difficult thing, we have attained it through the grace only. If you can understand the great importance of this, then that which could not be acquired through so countless previous lives is now I am receiving it, and then one would realize, why should I waste my time in Ragvesh, and why should I waste my awareness in. So if a person is in search of the answer to who am I, then he is on the right path. If he is searching for this and teaches others to do the same, then these thoughts are on the right path. Otherwise, everything else has been known, has it not? Will you not have to let go of all that is known in the end? For so many lives, one has continued to know about everything except what he really knows. All the scriptures are spoken with very one voice only. No Atmagnan, knowledge of the self. it's the people always tell, you go ahead and renounce this, get rid of this, don't do this, don't do that. But no, but we need to keep this in this awareness that in all of this that is happening, who am I and who is the doer of all of this? That is, those who think along these lines are on the path of moksha. And slowly, as they think on these things, then they rise higher in their development. All the scriptures are spoken with one voice. No Atmagnan. Atmagnan is not in books. It is only knowledge that cannot be. It is the only knowledge that cannot be put in books. The soul, Atma, is indescribable, avarniniya, inexpressible, avaktavya, and it is beyond words, nishabda. So how can it be contained in the scriptures? It is beyond the four Vedas and the four Anuyogs of the Jains. At the end of all the four Vedas, the Veda itself says, this is not that, this is not that, go to the Gnani. Even the Jain scripture said that Gnan, knowledge of the self, is in the heart of a Gnani. The ultimate settlement is not attained through scriptural knowledge, it is attained through experiential knowledge of the self. It is not easy to know the soul. It is the most secretive thing of this world. What the world believes as the self, Atma, there is not even a shadow of it. There is not even a shadow of the self where the world believes it to be. How can one attain and know the self where one has never come out of the infinite situations of the Prakriti, the non-self complex? Somebody says, if I renounce, I will have the experience of the soul. If I do penance, I will have experience of the soul. But no, if I do this, then I will get it. But wherever there is the idea of the doing anything, there is no soul. But after doing all of these things, if he realizes that he has not received it or experienced it, then he should then start wondering and start investigating what is going on. It is only through the knowledge that one can really proceed on the path of liberation. And that's exactly what the Gnanis of the world say, that know who you are and know how, otherwise you will be in infinite situations of the Prakriti and you will never get out of it. How can one attain and know the self when one has never come out of the infinite situations of the Prakriti, the non-self complex? It is not easy to find the self. What the world believes as the self is really the mechanical Atma, the self mediated by the ego. And the Gnan they keep looking for is the knowledge of the mechanical self. They have no awareness of the main original self or the mood Atma. One does jap, chanting mantras, tap, penance, tyag, renouncing, dhyan, meditation to make still that which is verily restless. People try to make still and steady only that which is inherently restless and unstable, whereas the self by nature is steady and still. That which is naturally still is the stillness of the self. Therefore, this is the amazing discovery of Dada that he had experienced it and therefore he makes us experience what he has experienced. And we do not have to become free from any kind of letting go of the illusory attachment towards anything. We need to understand the very nature of the self, which is beyond any illusory attachments and beyond any illusions. Otherwise, one has only the mechanical self only. You see? That which is naturally still is the stillness of the self. People try to make still and steady only that which is inherently restless. What is the knowledge of the mechanical self? Asked Dimple Bhai. I am Dimple. I am this. This is my thinking. The mechanical self tries to steady the vrittis, the tendencies that are by nature unstill and restless. And by being Dimple, I am Dimple and I am pure soul, I am invisible, I am infinite energy, etc. But if you ask him who is he, then he'll say I am Dimple. Therefore, he is the mechanical self. He has not really come out of the mechanical recitations of the qualities of the self. But you see, by following some spiritual masters, they have some or the other sense of the words of the soul, precious word of the soul, and that's how they proceed in the karmic path. that which is naturally still. He says, I'm still, he'll say, I'm still, but who am I? I'm Dimple, I'm over. You see, so in other words, they cannot really get out of the sense that I am over or I'm Katya or I am Unisi. That which is naturally still is the stillness of the self. It is only Krupadudev, Srimad Rajchandra, who could get out of this through this step path. But and he says this I was able to get out of this because previously in a previous life I must have received and I have met a Gnani. That's what Srimad Rajchandra said. And Dadashri also did not meet any Gnani Purush in this life, but in a previous life he must have met a Gnani Purush, so that for the knowledge to really move forward so beautifully. In the Gnanvidhi, whether he's a big doctor or a big lawyer or a totally illiterate farmer or whatever he is, all of them attain the level field and attain the self in the Gnanvidhi. And just as you and I experience the soul in the same way, the most illiterate man or woman also experiences this is the Atma, the self. So this is a very magnificent. Dada attained Gnan in 1958. He could and yes, he attained the whole self to in totality. And then if anybody tries to still the non-self complex, he'll say, don't you even try to still the non-self complex. The non-self complex is verily unstill. So therefore, if I remove you from any sense that you are the non-self complex, you are Katya or you are Marion, just get out of it and be still, because by nature you are still. You see, don't try to. Yes. You see, you are the knower of the intentions and the views and the outlooks of that which is essentially part of the unstill or unstable or restless. And even to bring this into the sentences is a magnificent accomplishment of Gnani Purush Dadashri. And therefore, by the way he says it, we too start seeing it the way he is seeing it. And he gives us the examples of what he has seen, and therefore, by those examples, we too also, our veils are removed. Dada Shri never tells us about making still that which is the mechanical and constantly unstill or restless, verily restless. Dada Shri was at 345 degrees when Srimad Rajchandra was at 285 degrees and Dadashri was at 345 degrees. So something has happened between Srimad Rajchandra and Dada Gnani Purush Dadashri. Because he really understood, Gnani Purush Dadashri understood who is the doer, who exactly is the doer in all of this, and that is how he made us free from the doership. It is only when you become free from doership that you can have the exact experience of the self, which has happened to all of us in the Gnanvidhi. In his entire life, Gnani Purush Dadashri was not at all concerned with making any kind of money in his contract business. He was just settling the accounts of the contract business. In no matter he was involved at a relative level. He was just constantly closing his files. He was making adjustments with friends, Mahatmas and wife, etc., everyone. And all the time he was continuously involved in that which pertained and was concerned with the self only. Dadashri says, for a while we used to meditate on the self too. Whatever he could know through words, he would do that, and he would just continue to talk about Atma Dhyan or meditate on the self. And for a while, he was in a continuous play of what the self is all about, and all the thoughts about the self only. No, his thinking was not like ours. His
એમને લિંક તો મળેલી જ હતી.
he had received the link of Atma,
છતાં એ કે
the
મિકેનિકલ
self.
આત્મા પર કઈ શ્રેણી ઠેઠ અડી જાય ને મિશ્ર ચેતનનો એક છેડો આત્માને અડેલો હોય.
You see, of the mechanical self or the mixed self, one end of the self is touching the absolute self, the soul, and so he was in that border, and he knew that this mechanical self kriyas activities were not part of the self, but
ગુણો તો બધા મૂળ આત્માના જ છે ને જે
but
આપણે
this but the qualities says are all of the original self only, are they not?
અડે છે ખરા પણ
But
એની દ્રષ્ટિમાં હોય ને ત્યાં અડે.
but you see, they touch according to your vision only. Yes, they touch the original self, but it all depends on your vision, on your applied vision only, right? And whatever your vision is, that is where it touches. If you say I am blissful, you become blissful.
એટલે એની દ્રષ્ટિમાં દાદાની દ્રષ્ટિમાં હતું કે આ નહીં પેલું હોવું જોઈએ.
It was in Dada's vision that it is not this mechanical self and the scriptural readings self, but the original self must be totally different than this that which is in the mechanical self.
મોક્ષ માર્ગ પૂરો કરી શકે.
And this is how he completed his entire path of liberation of his own.
તો છે જ કે આત્માના ગુણો શું
The
ને,
world knows the
આત્મા
qualities of the
બળતો
self
નથી,
only,
કપાતો નથી.
and they know that the self cannot be burnt or cannot be cut or cannot be stopped, etc. But
કાન સુપડા જેવો એનાથી કે હાથી જડે ને.
if you describe an elephant by looking at only the ears, will you be able to tell? Or if you just touch the tail, if you are blind and touch the tail of the elephant, will you be able to describe the elephant? Or if you just touch the leg, or if you just touch the trunk of the elephant, will you be able to describe the elephant? In other words, the Atma, the self, has to be seen in its totality and experienced in the totality and then move forward.
એટલે
And therefore,
એ કાણે મેં જે બાળ્યો એ ચાર ગુણો તો એ ગુણ એ
The-
ગુણ ગુણમાં પહોંચતું જ નથી પાછું.
and then these four qualities of the self are infinite knowledge, infinite vision, infinite bliss, and infinite energy. One can never even come to that level without experiencing the self. One can only talk about it. You have to touch the original self in order to begin the experience of the infinite nature of this vision, the bliss, the knowledge, and the energy.
પછી આ કરે છે કોણ? એટલે
And then later on, we have to find out who is the doer in all of this.
એમને ખબર તો છે જ ને, આનંદ જ્ઞાન, આનંદ દર્શન, આનંદ
But he has the knowledge of he.
શું છે એ જ
But
ખબર.
but but they know the quality of those things, but they do not know what it is.
પણ શું છે ખબર
Is that's what the Aptaputra is saying? No,
શું છે એટલે શબ્દથી ખબર છે.
but they only know what it is through words only. They do not have the experience of it.
પછી વાંદરા આવે.
Yes, you can when as you approach Bombay, you can talk about all the suburbs that are going to come by train. But actually, until you really reach the suburbs, how can you experience Bombay? You can say that Santa Cruz will come, and then Dadar will come, and all of those things will come.
ઘાટકો પર
But then Bandra, Ghatkopar,
સાંતાક્રુઝ આ તો જ્ઞાન આખું થઈ ગયું હો.
and so
ચાર
no.
સ્ટેશનનું જ્ઞાન
And so there are 4 stations are there. Supposing you know 4 of the stations outside the central station of Bombay, and you know about it, will you reach Bombay Central? No, you have to actually go through all of these 4 suburban stations until the train arrives at Bombay Central, right?
ખબર છે. પણ પેલા અજ્ઞાની બધા આમ તો
And so the ignorant ones will also, the ignorant listeners will say, wow, he is a Gnani, wow, he is a Gnani, wow, he is a Gnani, because they are impressed by just the
એ
words.
લોકો સાહેબ હું અટવાઈ ગયું છું એરપોર્ટ મને દેખાતું જ નથી અહીંયાથી. તો એમ
He
જવાબ
might say that, but when you are stuck at the airport and when you don't know, and then I can't see anything, I don't know where I am, then you need somebody to guide you from one station to the other until your final destination.
પહોંચાડી દે. દાદાએ તો પહોંચાડી
And Dada reached the final destination, and he placed us in the final destination, and now is giving us the exact way to kind of become free from the rest of the worldly interactions
શબ્દમાં લખ્યું
through the 5 agnas.
બહુ ઓછું.
Whatever the description of the self is, I am experiencing it through my experience, not just through words, says Gnani Purush Dadashri.
ત્યારે એને આ બધા કરવાપણામાંથી છોડાવી કૃપાથી જ
So it is through by making us free from all of this doership, it is only through the grace that he makes us free from it.
જ્ઞાન દર્શન શક્તિ શું કેવી ખબર છે જ નહીં.
We don't even know what is infinite knowledge, infinite vision, infinite energy. And even then, we have attained the energy of the self. We have become the self. And then we jump around and say, we have reached Bombay Central. And then Dadashri says, I have now dropped you in Bombay Central. Now, slowly you understand what all the stations you have already crossed. So you don't need to worry about those sentences at all. And slowly you will, you will, you will get there. See. What is the best sign of self-realization? You can see your own mistakes, you can see your anger, greed, deceit, pride, rag, dvesh, and you stop entering into them any further and you return from where it happens. You become free from kashay and vishay. Kashay means anger, greed, deceit, and pride. Vishay means sexuality. You talked about 285 and 345. When he was M. Patel, whatever his understanding was from last life, he had the understanding of 285 from last life. And when did he come to 345? There is always a difference between conduct and understanding. He had the understanding from last life, and so whatever experience he has received in conduct, there is always a dichotomy, a separation between vartan, which is conduct, and understanding. Whatever the understanding was in the last life, it came into conduct in this life. And then he had the knowledge, the 360 degrees knowledge. And then, but you see, he had the 360 degree knowledge in Surat in 1968. But when he came out of it, he was at 345 degrees in the relative level. We just want to make sure that Deepak Bhai is saying it right, but we will reserve it right now. As long as it has not come into his actual knowledge, Gnan. Yes. As your understanding improves, then the conduct also improves, is what he is trying to say. It is on the basis of the improvement in the understanding that the conduct improves. And once you come into Gnan, then already the understanding is at a very high level, and then automatically the conduct as the self also continues to improve. In his last life, he had up to 345 degrees in his understanding. So as Dadashri grew older from age 15 to age 40, the understanding also increased. And then so he recognized that anger is wrong, greed is wrong, etc. And it is, Dadashri says, I had brought with me a very high level of understanding from the past life. And he had some pride that was expressing in Ambalal in this life, but he knew it was totally wrong. So it was an account from past life. That when he's jumped from 345 through 356, when the Gnan manifests within him at 360 degrees in Surat, and when he came out of it, he was at 356 degrees. And so slowly, obviously, the major explosion was from 345 degrees in Gnani Purush Dadashri to 356 in the Gnan that happened to him in Surat in June of 1958. what is called increased understanding, so then there is none of these kashais. So whenever any work happens through kashais, he is already doubting that, and he knows that this is wrong, and he tries to avoid any kashais. That is called the right understanding. Right understanding is that which is without kashais. Wrong understanding is that which is with kashais. The understanding increased at a very rapid rate.
દીપકભાઈ, આમાં આપણે કહ્યું ને કે હમણાં થોડી વાર પહેલાં કે આ જે વાણી છે એ વિઝ્યુઅલાઇઝ થવી છે.
You have said that you should be able to visualize this speech. We are understanding it at the level of the line of demarcation. We need to have our vision focused on the line of demarcation only between the self and the non-self. But as you go higher and higher on the knower state, then you will be able to visualize the speech as it is spoken. But right now we are at the level of the self and the non-self line of demarcation. We want to experience the soul as capital. He has said that all of these Pudgal intentions, bhavs, intent, view and outlooks are separate and after the non-self. On every page, his speech is filled with only this view only, at the level of the line of demarcation between the self and the non-self. It is at the line of demarcation only. How can we know the self? Now we are reading. How can one worship the soul, aradhana of the self? Dadashri is ask a Gnani Purush, do something for me, sir, so that I can worship the self, and he'll do it for you. A Gnani can do anything you ask because he is not the doer of anything. What can a Gnani not do when even God has become vash to him, has surrendered, since God doesn't have to worship in order to do Jagat Kalyan, God has surrendered to the Gnani. Yet he is constantly in a completely egoless state, nirahamkari, and he is always in a state of a nimit, instrumental in the process. The self cannot be understood through words. It can be understood through sangnya. People will come and ask Dada, and Dada will answer. Okay. Then they come. If somebody says, please do it for me, and Dada will say, this Sunday there is Gnan Vidhi, come then. And the next day when he comes, then Dada will ask, have you caught the 5 agnas now? Now focus on the 5 agnas. And then he says, then if he misses the agnas, then he says, if you hurt somebody, then you can do pratikraman. And so this is how the Gnani turns seeker into the aradhana of the soul and the worship of the soul. The self cannot be understood through words. It can be understood through sangnya. The Gnani Purush awakens yourself through sangnya. Just as two people who are dumb and cannot speak, they communicate in their own language. They communicate with each other through sign language and they both reach their destination. They understand each other through their sangna, association of sign language. We would not understand them. Similarly, only a Gnani understands a Gnani's sangnya. When a Gnani graces you and explains to you through his sangna, your self, Atma, will awaken. The self is not in the form of words, Shabda Swarup. It is in the form of its own attributes, Swabhav Swarup. The secret of the self is infinite. It is the abode of infinite attributes, infinite knowledge, infinite vision, infinite bliss, and has infinite locations. However, at the moment for you, veils of ignorance cover up all those locations. The Gnani Purush can remove those veils. Every word of his has such energy, an energy that can remove all veils. And each word of the Gnani can produce whole scriptures. And says, many of the scriptures have written that the soul exists, has got countless locations, whereas Dadashri says the soul has infinite locations. That's the difference. You see? And so the worldly interacting self has got countless locations, whereas the original soul has got infinite locations. This is. And so now find out the actual original qualities of the self and just go for those qualities. I am infinite energy, I have infinite vision, I, I am full of infinite bliss. You see, and I want to become. But you see, those people do not have the experience of self in the karmic path, and but slowly, by step, they kind of it becomes the atma or the soul. You see, and this is and so this is how they become free from all of this. But only after they become from the original self that then they, and then when they become, when and but once they attain the absolute self, then they have no words left, and therefore they do not stick around to share it with the human beings of the world, and then proceed on to the bodiless state. So Gnani Purush Dadashri came up with the original self as well as the worldly interacting self. Mood Atma, Vyavahar Atma. Mood Atma, original Atma. Vyavahar Atma is called the worldly interacting self. But otherwise, the karmic path is a very painful path, very, very difficult path to come to the experience of the soul. The self is not. Somebody's got a question.
ઘણા બધા શબ્દો આવી ગયા. એક તો કહે છે કે આ જ્ઞાની પુરુષની વાત આવી અને પછી આ આત્મા માટે શબ્દો બધા આવ્યા.
Then these are the words of the soul.
શબ્દ સ્વરૂપ નથી.
The soul is not in the form of words, but it is in the form of the nature of the self. Swabhav.
પછી આપણે કીધું કે પ્રદેશી છે. અનંત ભેદે આત્મા આપણે ચાલુ કરી દીધું. અનંત ભેદે એટલે શું?
Anant Vede.
ભેદ એટલે ડિફરન્સ છે. ભેદનો મતલબ ડિફરન્સ છે.
What is called Ved?
એટલે સોનું હોય ને.
It is, we have gold. The gold can become a ring, it can become a necklace. It has, but it has got its density, it has its property, it has its malleability, flexibility. It has got so many qualities. But in so many different ways, the gold still remains the gold only. You can become in so many ways it is different, and yet it remains gold only. Which Atma is called Vastu, or the thing. The original thing is the original thing. As if the gold is the original thing, then it has got qualities. But the Atma is the original thing. It is such a thing that there are 6 eternal elements, 6 eternal things in this world. And it has got infinite qualities. But that which has got infinite qualities, that is attributes, that is the soul. It cannot be burnt. Yeah. Yes, it is. You cannot. How can you one experience that? When you becomes the self, and then you can know that it is the body that is burning. I am beyond burning. Yes. If somebody is trying to cut you with a knife, then there is the awareness that you can't cut me. You will cut the body, but you can't cut me. I am the pure soul. So through all of those qualities, one understands through all different qualities, then it comes into the nature of the self. You see, whether it is a knife, whether it is a burning, etc., it comes into the nature of the self only. Swabhav. And that on the when you are on the 12th stage of the moon, there are these qualities of the moon. When it is the full moon, it has got the full moon qualities, you see. And so he has become the soul from infinite views. He doesn't have to say that I am unassociated, I am blissful, I am this or I am that. He simply is that. He is feeling that I am neither increase, I neither increase nor decrease. You see, I am neither heavy nor light. In other words, there is the experience of that, and therefore there is nothing to say about it. Right now, we have to use those words and the qualities of those words in order to really come into the nature of the self. And then I am the still one, I am the knower, I am the still blissful knower, seer only, and the knower is who I am. And slowly, this is how we proceed further. And as we apply this awareness, then this initially from an indistinct one, we will come into the distinct experience of the soul. And then once you have the distinct experience of the soul, then you cannot be touched at all. And so that means the distinct experience of soul, you have experienced the soul in so many different ways. It's like you can, supposing you take the ball of fire, which is the sun, but the sun has got the different rays in so many different ways. Supposing you put a 1,000-watt bulb and cover it up with a huge black pot. Yes. Even one subatomic particle of the earthenware pot that is covering the light, even if one whatever space is occupied by one subatomic particle, that is called one location, and so that is infinite locations. And so if it moves a little bit, then there is light of the sun, the bulb passes through it. In the same way, there are infinite locations. It is closed. Until when clever Gnan happens, absolute knowledge happens, then all of those veils will be removed. Yes, when the Gnani Dadashri makes a hole in the layer that is covering the self. And so the Prajna Shakti really starts. It is the original light of the self that is coming out, and therefore we are able to see it as it is. But when somebody pushes you this way or that way, then you see, when you become aware of who I am and who that person is, really, then you become more and more. But if you protect yourself, then you are protecting Sanjay, and therefore you are not really letting go of the veil, because you are protecting the veil rather than protecting the light that you are. And if you settle the flight with equanimity, then you see one layer of pride goes away. Because whenever pride arises, you have to settle the pride. So anger, pride, deceit, greed rag, dvesh will arise in illusory attachment will arise in so many different ways, and all of this has to go slowly. We should not protect it. You see, and in this way, and then once. And this will take 1 or 2 hours. You see, it will not happen immediately. It will take 1 or 2. It will take 1 or 2 lifetimes. It will not happen immediately. When the self is Swabhav Swarup, means the self is its own nature only. It is not in the form of words. The self is its own nature, its own intrinsic qualities and properties. If I write fire on a piece of paper, will there be fire at all? No, fire is fire. But you see, if there is a huge ball of cotton and I throw a matchstick in it, now I'll know what fire is, you see. Yes. You see, if I write that I threw a matchstick on a bale of cotton, fire did not happen. Why? Because it is just, you have just written it on paper. You have not actually done it, have you? So you can be speaking about the soul. You have to be the soul. And so you have to be the soul, be the self, and you have to go beyond the words in order to really reach this, the experience of the soul. I am infinite knowledge, infinite vision, infinite bliss, infinite energy. That is who I am. Swarup means that what I am. I am that. That is called Swarup. I am that I am. When all the qualities gather together, that is called Swarup. When all the qualities are in one place, then it is called Swarup at one time. Swarup means, that means to know who I am. Okay, so who am I, and to really know who am I, that is called a Gnani. I am absolute self only. I am absolute self only. I am within this body and the space in between the subatomic particles only. That is who I am. I am the pure knower, seer only. I am the light only. I am the knower, I am the knower, the Gnayak only, nothing else. And to use that light, then it is called Swabhav. It is called that is infinite knowledge, infinite vision, infinite bliss, infinite energy of that self. I never die, I never get born. I am avyabad, I am beyond pain, I am beyond weight of heavy weight or low weight. But those are the qualities, and then beyond that there is the what potanu dravya. In other words, the one's own state is the self only. That is the original self. By nature only this self is still. By nature the self is still. Vibhav, and by the when it believes that it is uve, it becomes restless. You see, and by it starts moving, talking, thinking, etc. And by nature of the knower, by nature is still, absolutely still only.
શબ્દ સ્વરૂપ નથી એ તો સમજાય, પણ આત્માને જ્યારે શરૂઆતમાં તો
I understand that the soul is not words, but at least it is only through words that we experience the soul, is it not? But the dependence on the words is because we have the experience of the soul in the Gnan Vidhi. Without the Gnan Vidhi and the five Agnas, it is impossible to move even a little bit in this direction. When Dada says that Gnan is the self only, Atma is Gnan only and nothing else, then Atma is not Gnan but it is Vignan. So what is exactly mean? What is that is different. Atma is Gnan only, absolute knowledge is called Gnan. There are two types of Gnan. There is Vibhavik Gnan and Swabhavik Gnan. Vibhavik Gnan means knowledge of Uve and Nada, and Swabhavik Gnan means knowledge of the Rayana Sila, knowledge as the Rayana Sila, the pure soul. You see? And until one becomes the absolute self, it is pure knowledge only. And the self is knowledge only and nothing else. The world, that the knowledge it sees is Vibhavik Gnan, but actually, but the knower is the true Gnan only. That is also called, the knower self is the Vignan Swarupatma, it is the absolute self only. It is absolute only and nothing else. The absolute part only is called the Vignan Ghan Atma or the pure science Atma, soul. It is nothing but light only and nothing else. It is the light within and nothing else. But whatever the world uses as the word Gnan, it is knowledge mediated through the intellect. So the words do not really, but yes, they are used in the world, but they really are not effective in terms of the experience of the soul or the beauty of the soul or the process of the liberation. When we understand each other, we explain each other through Sangnya, I can understand Sangnya means the sign language. Have you taken Gnan? Yes. Are you not aware that you are separate from Piyush? So whatever happens is Piyush's, it's no longer yours, you understand? And whatever they are doing is happening to Piyush only, you see? And the one who has not received the Gnan, and this is talking to Piyush, and he is talking as if there are two people. There is, in the one who has not received Gnanvidhi, he will say, what is Dada talking when he is saying talking to Piyush? as if he has two people, you see. What happens in the Gnanvidhi? That is the beauty of the Vyavasthit is the doer, you see. What he has experienced, he is giving it to us through the experience of the words. Because the soul understands the words of the soul, Atma is the Gnani understands the words of the Gnani. How do you know? This is. You say, if you speak a lie, then the other will say, how do you know that you have spoken a lie? Actually, you are aware that Piyush spoke a lie. That is all. You see, the knower is always separate from the one who is saying anything, doing anything, or thinking anything. And now make sure that you make Piyush do Pratikraman, and therefore, so Piyush will do Pratikraman. You see, because the knower is always separate from the one who is doing Pratikraman. You see? So this is all happening through Sangnya, the sign language of the association. When then two people who cannot speak and are dumb talk to each other, they communicate with each other through their signs. They have their signs that they can understand each other very well. See? And this is how the Gnani Purush Dadashri is teaching us. You see, so this is why the original self is magnificently present there. You see. Let's move forward. Gnan. The self is not Gnan Swarup, knowledge form, but Vignan Swarup. Therefore, know the science of the Vitarags, the ones who are absolutely free from attachment and abhorrence, is not difficult, but the knower, Gnata, and the giver of such science do not exist. Rarely, when a Gnani Purush is present, he will be able to solve that problem. Otherwise, the easiest is the Vitarag Vignan, the science of the Vitarags. Other sciences are difficult. One needs research centers for other sciences. And for a person to carry out the research, he has to forget about his wife and children for months. And this Vitrag Vignan can be attained naturally and easily but just by going to the Gnani Purush. He will say that I am pure soul like Lord Mahavir, I am pure soul like Lord Simandar. He says, I have attained this Gnan. He has become absolutely doubtless that he is that indeed. Question. You have to spend 25 years of your life in order to become a doctor, whereas here, in one evening of your life, you become the soul. One evening of your life. This is the easiest, but the giver of this knowledge of the Gnanvidhi is very, very rare. Yeah, yes, we don't have this. The Gnata and the giver of the science do not exist. Questioner. Yes, even as you are going around with your wife and cinema, etc., you can move around with your wife and enjoy life, and yet you have Atmagnan. Questioner. How can one attain the knowledge of I am the self? How can one experience that? Dadashri, we, the Gnani Purush, are sitting here to give you that experience. Here, when we give you Gnan, we separate the self as capital from the non-self for you, and then send you home. It's amazing. With authority. Nothing else. Great authority. Gnani is only attained from a Gnani. Otherwise, a person... and yes. And only then we send you home. First we separate you and then we send you home, says Deepak Bhai. And we give you the knowledge of the Absolute Self, Paramatma Dasa, the state of the Absolute Self. You know, when the priest marries you, he makes you sit underneath a canopy and makes you kind of take circles around the fire. And all of a sudden, then you start believing, I'm married. So, what happened? And hundreds of thousands of people are experiencing this glorious soul. You see? Gnan is attained only from a Gnani is the next heading. Another question coming from Sanjay Bhai. Everything about Gnani Purush can does it. Gnani Purush, just ask for Gnani Purush. Gnani Purush. Everywhere the Gnani Purush word comes. Gnani gives you grace. When Gnani Purush is there, it gets opened up. I am here. We give you Gnan. Everything goes to the Gnani Purush. In worldly interactions, he was a Gnani, that's all. And you too are that, no, Deepak Bhai? But originally he is at the self only, right? But today he is a Gnani when he is giving you Gnan, is he not? But he never says, I am the Gnani Purush. Inside he is separate. He says, this person is a Gnani and I am... and he says the Gnani Purush is absolutely egoless. Yes, he says that. If he says, if you want to understand this Gnani Purush, understand. Realize that this person is a Gnani Purush, he is egoless, he is totally egoless. But inside he is really talking about also the fully manifest one. He is even he is totally separate from the Gnani, the so-called Gnani Purush. For him, the original self has got nothing, no issues about I am a Gnani or an Agnani. He is just the soul only, the absolute soul only, right? But in the worldly interactions, he is a Gnani Purush. He is a Bhavo, he is the middleman of the 350 degrees, 56 degrees of enlightenment. He is and it is through the prajna, and it is through his own prajna that he is keeping the Gnani state from his original state. The one with the right belief has now become the mini Gnani, has he not? Yes. The right, and then he keeps on, and then he'll become a Kevad Gnani, an absolute Gnani, and Kevad Gnani, absolute self only. And then he will merge with the original self only. And then all the phases and the qualities of the self will all become one. And the Gnani can do anything. And the Gnani can do anything in the realm of the S capital self, but in the activities he cannot even break a wafer, you know. And he has, in Gnan, he really made you aware of who you really are, you know, that you are not Sanjay. He did not change Sanjay at all, he just made you wake up. And he said that Sanjay's Uday Karma will be done by Vyavasthit. That's all. Uday Karma, unfolding karma. The role of the Gnani, the grace of the Gnani is to move you from ignorance towards knowledge only. That's all. That is why one can manipulate and change one's own content, which is the meta thing. I used to believe I am over, but really you are the absolute self with infinite energies, and therefore you can make your own internal changes. And this is the beauty of the science. In the Kramik path, he says one being cannot interfere with another being. Yes, don't you is it with activities also? No. Because the self can do the self, and the barber does his barber stuff, the ego. Yeah, the non-self does for the non-self, and the self does for the self. You see, the Pudgal does for the Pudgal may dirties the Pudgal, and Pudgal cleans up the Pudgal, whereas the self remains the blissful knower of the entire process only. You see, it says, the state of the Gnani is that the Gnani never interferes with the Pudgal and what is happening with the Pudgal. The Gnani says, I cannot decrease, I cannot heal your pain, but I can give you the vision and the understanding from which your suffering will be significantly reduced. I cannot stop your pain, but I can lift you up to a level where you can see it. He says, when you say, I am hurting, then it becomes 100 times. When you say, Uva is hurting, then it remains as it is. So you are aware of the pain and you are aware of the sufferer too. You are aware of the pain as well as you are aware of the sufferer. You are the knower and the seer of the pain as well as knower and seer of the one who is suffering the pain. You are separate from both of these two. And that is the Akram Vignan, that is the science of the self. That is very good. Now let's take a little break here now. Let's take a little break. We'll take a break and then we'll come back. We'll be back now. We'll save this much.